Not liking something doesn't mean that it's not working.
Yes.
Right. Maybe it's supposed to do that.
Yeah,
like
it
grotesque.
Exactly. It could be immoral to you because of your upbringing. Politically, maybe because of your upbringing, you're like, oh, no. I don't subscribe to those kind of things. That's fine. The thing that you must be worried about the most is boring people. When nobody feels anything. When you feel nothing about something, that's when you know it's bad. Even a visual artist, a painter, needs inspiration from something. Of course. So it's not. So you can't. So creativity can't be in isolation. It's not possible. As a director, you're always the first audience of whatever it is that you are engaging with. So if you're already bored, you switch off immediately. If it's nobody's laughing and it's meant to be funny, we have a problem. If it's meant to be sad and nobody on set is crying, then we know we don't have a scene. If it's meant to be pulsating with tension and on set nobody's feeling it, then you know that's not working. So you fix it before you shoot it.
Hello, family, and welcome to yet another episode of Seen and Heard, a platform that makes you feel seen and heard. And as you can see, we're in a completely different environment. So shout out to the sound department for hosting us today. Kalibito ke Nadim Potuhlwane, and I'm with the co-host
Luto Dala.
And today we have a very exciting guest, and his name is Adze Ugah. How are you, Adze?
I'm fantastic, Dimpo. Thank you so much for that warm introduction.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Luto. Pleasure being here.
We're going to start off with some ice-breaking film quizzes.
Hey, ice in winter.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Yes.
Ice-breaking in winter. And I know you're good at this, so I'm going to...
How do you know I'm good at this?
Yeah, I know from off-camera. I know from off-camera. All right, let's start off with, I think, a pretty difficult question. How many Oscars did Mad Max Fury Road pick up in February 2016? Now, listen, I'm going to give you options. I'm going to give you options.
Okay.
Is it A, 5, B, 3, C, 8, or D, 6?
Oh, God.
Oh, my word.
I'm not going to get this. 5.
You chose 5.
I chose 5.
It's 6.
Oh.
Just by one. But we keep it rolling. What is the first name of Kate Winslet's character in Titanic? Is it A, Fleur, B, Rose, C, Lily, or D, Poppy?
Isn't it Rose?
You thinking Rose?
I think Rose.
It's Rose. Oh. You're doubting yourself.
I was also there like, is it Rose?
All right, last question. Henry Cavill plays which superhero on screen? Is it A?
Superman.
Superman.
Yes.
It's correct, Superman.
It's Superman.
It's a clear choice.
Yeah.
I'd say, how are you?
I'm good. I'm very good.
Yeah, we play this all the time.
Yeah.
And I usually help our guests. And today, I'm sorry that I couldn't be on your side.
No one could have guessed 6 for Mad Max. No one could have guessed 6 for Mad Max.
I do watch a lot of movies, and I was that kid in school.
Yeah.
That when I came to school in the morning, there was like a group of kids gathering around me, and I was telling them the movie that I watched over the weekend.
Way.
I was that kid. Like, I was that kid that if the teacher wanted to, mark our subjects and she needed the class to pay attention to something, she would ask me to come and stand in front of the class and tell them a story of a movie that I watched.
Wow.
I was that kid.
Natural storyteller. Natural storyteller.
I wouldn't say natural, right? But I developed it by watching a lot of stuff. I was the kind of... Anytime I watched a movie or I watched anything on TV and that struck me, that the emotions, the feeling, I always wanted to share.
Right.
Oh.
So I would, maybe that's how I developed the storytelling bug. But in telling people of the movie, and people will listen, they will just kids will just be enraptured.
Right.
And I think, so my career basically has been an extension of that, in the sense that I'm still sharing my experiences and my feelings and my stories with other people so that they can feel the same way.
What's a film you can maybe remember from a childhood?
Okay, I shouldn't be saying it because I was a kid when I watched it, and I shouldn't.
Oh, no.
You should watch it.
You shouldn't have watched it.
It was Full Metal Jacket.
Ooh.
Yeah, I remember watching Full Metal Jacket and I was
That's
in grade...
the Tom Cruise.
No, the Stanley Kubrick film.
Stanley Kubrick, yeah.
Yes, I watched Full Metal Jacket when I was in, I'll tell you now, I was in equivalent of grade 9. Grade 9, grade 10.
That's fair.
And when I went to school, I was like, guys, this movie. Everybody was like, what is it? Is this fun? And I'm like, I don't know, I just loved it. And they're like, hey, what's the story? I'm like, there's really no story. It's just these guys that go to war and then you see them being dehumanized and next thing they're fighting and then they fight this little girl who's like a sniper and then they kill her and then they sing Mickey Mouse at the end. And they're like, why'd you like it? I said, I don't know, but the film was just very compelling.
Stanley Kubrick.
And yeah, so... And when I went to film school in Nigeria, that was my nickname, Kubrick.
Really?
Oh.
That's cool.
It's crazy.
That's cool.
So you didn't know the film's name at the time?
No, after watching the film, I started paying attention to the director. So that's kind of what I did.
Oh.
Yes.
When the film was so good, I kind of figured out, no, the director is the reason why the film is so good.
Yes.
Then I started like remembering the names and holding on to the names so that, you have somebody to aspire to be like, or to learn from, or to reference.
So Stanley's your favorite?
Well, no, Stanley's not my favorite.
Wow.
I think Scorsese is my favorite.
Scorsese, Martin Scorsese.
Yes.
Oh.
There's a lot of those New York, like Italian-American films.
Well, everybody says that, but I think I know why I relate to him. Because his films are always about outsiders trying to fit in.
Right.
That's actually what his films are really about. When you look at them, you think, oh, it's all mafia, it's all...
Yeah.
But really, at the core of his films, it's outsiders trying to fit in.
Goodfellas.
People trying to find acceptance, exactly.
Goodfellas,
and in my life generally has been about that when I think about it, because I'm always trying to fit in somewhere, somehow, and it's a story of all of us, one way or the other,
Right.
And Scorsese has had that issue too with himself. And he just uses his films to kind of bring that to the foreground every single time,
Sure. I'd say from you saying you watched films and wanted to tell other people about it, I would have said, okay, he's probably going to be a film critic, and not necessarily a director. I mean, you can see it in many ways.
Yeah. No, you when you watch something or you read something or you listen to something, you can't help but critique it.
Right.
But I don't think... I'm not geared towards looking out for what is wrong with something.
All right.
My philosophy is more like, what is it about it that is great that I can take? And in reality, nothing is perfect. So expecting something to be perfect is kind of like, I know it's a pipe dream. So everything, whether it's with a relationship or with an institution or with work or anything that you do, you take the best things of that and you use. Don't discard it because of, I was giving someone an example the other day. Like, do you know how many times we miss out on good bags of potatoes because the first potato we see is squashed?
Right.
Meanwhile, the rest are fantastic.
Right.
And we just miss out. So sometimes, you got to just change your philosophy about life, and you'll find wonderful things in very, very weird places.
So let's say as artists, right? Because I think it's a thing for most artists to sort of strive to be near perfect, never perfect, right? So what do you say to that in your art? Do you strive for, no, I'm just going to do my best, or do you strive for near perfection?
No, so I've heard people say that kind of thing, that, oh no, you're trying to be perfect, but I have never felt in my life that I have expended every ounce of fuel in my cell to be perfect. I do the best that I can within the limits of the resources that are available, whether it's time, money, patience and personalities of other people. I do that. And because I believe everything needs to exist within the context, So I take that. That life is about give and take.
Right.
If you don't give, you can't afford to take, or you can't expect to take in some places. So I do that a lot. I do a lot of trade-offs, and I try to always find the fastest way to get to something. Like even when I'm directing, when the scene is complicated, I'm like, okay, it needs to be simple. Yeah. What are the simplest ways to do it? If there's one shot that can tell the story, that will be the way I'll do it.
One shot.
One shot. If one shot can't tell the story, I know we're in trouble. I know that something's really wrong.
Right.
If I can't reblock the scene to make it work in one shot, then I know it's problematic. And then the close-ups that you do later on are just to kind of amplify or to give yourself leeway to kind of make the scene tighter or even longer. But if one shot can't tell the story, if that emotion of the character can't be directly impactful in the first 4 or 5 seconds, I know we have a problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sure. So that's kind of like part of your directorial approach, so to say.
Well, yeah, because I don't like being bored.
No one likes being
I
that.
like
No one
being
likes
bored.
being, no one likes being
Yeah,
bored.
and as a director, you're always the first audience of whatever it is that you are engaging with. So if you're already bored, you're like, and I have patience. I have what I think is not a very short attention span. So when I know that, okay, I can take this. Well, what about the others who don't have the kind of attention span as I do? They will switch off immediately.
Right.
So yeah. So I always think about the audience. If I'm bored, they're sleeping. And when I'm shooting, the people around me, I always ask, is that working? I'll ask the script supervisor, is it working? Or whoever's the DOP, did that work? You know, AD, like, are you sure that's what? I'm like, and then when the consensus is like, oh, no, it's working or it's not working, we know what to do. If it's meant to be funny and nobody's laughing, I'm like, oh, just wasted our time.
Yeah.
So let's do it again, or let's stop and find a way of making it funny. Because if it's nobody's laughing and it's meant to be funny, we have a problem. If it's meant to be sad and nobody on set is crying, then we know we don't have a scene. If it's meant to be, pulsating with tension and on set, nobody's feeling it. Then you know that's not working. So you fix it before you shoot it.
Right. Do you think it's important as a director, maybe, to always have that input, like that creative input from other people, the DOP, the cinematographer?
I think it's non-negotiable.
Right.
Like
everyone's a part of it.
Creativity is a collaborative process. It's not about your ego. Anybody who tries to say, okay, now this is me, will fail woefully, and I can guarantee you. We have lists of people who have failed because they've gone on it alone. Even Spielberg. He says his AD, he's reliant on that one. All of them, they contribute, and he takes their their input. I don't know if you remember that scene from the last Indiana Jones. I think it was the Last Crusade.
Last Crusade is Crystal Skull, no?
So there's a scene where Dr. Jones, the lead character...
We're talking the recent Indiana Jones.
No, the recent one. Let's leave that one.
Let's leave that one. Yeah. It's not part of the original.
Let's not talk about that one. So the Last Crusade, Spielberg, there was a scene where Dr. Jones comes in to give a lecture. And then when he's sitting down in lecture, and all the girls like him because he's so handsome. And then this girl closes her eyes, and you can see she had penciled "I love you" or something like that on her eyes. And then it kind of threw him off. And it was a beautiful scene,
Right.
But that didn't come from Spielberg. It came from his first AD who said, why don't we do it like that? And he kept it in. So you even a visual artist, a painter, needs inspiration from something. Of course. So it's not, so you can't, so creativity can't be in isolation. It's not possible. So I always say the more people you have, the last film I did, Serious Gold, that won the Durban International Film Festival Best South African Film last year, right? I wrote that script in consensus with everybody that I knew. Like, I was like, okay, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I've got this scene, I don't know I'm not too sure whether this should happen next or that. And I'll discuss it with a friend or a DOP or anybody. And they were like, that idea is a bit weird, or that's been done to death. And then I'll try another one. And they're like, okay, that's good. Then I'll write it down. And I'll move on to the next scene. Literally, I was doing that with everybody. People are always afraid of, having their ideas stolen.
Yeah. I mean, it's the thing of having your idea stolen, or let's say you show it to them and they don't like it, but you feel strongly about this idea.
Well, if they don't like it, there's a reason, right?
Right.
And you can ask somebody else, right? And people do react to things differently based on their personalities and how they come into the world. Nature and nurture impacts on how we interpret anything we engage with as individuals. So it depends on the kind of, if something disturbs you, it doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that, you've got some kind of trauma that's relating to that thing that you've seen.
Right.
That kind of thing. So that is not necessarily a negative reaction. That is just, that is you responding to something that's stimulating you in a way that maybe you find uncomfortable. So that means if that's what it's meant to do, then it's doing its job.
Right.
If you don't like it, right? So don't forget, not liking something doesn't mean that it's not working.
Yes.
Right. Maybe it's supposed to do that. Like grotesque.
Exactly. It could be like, oh no, this is too. It could be immoral to you because of your upbringing, maybe church. So you're like, oh no, that's immoral. Politically, maybe because of your upbringing, you're like, oh no, I don't subscribe to those kind of things. That's fine. I think the thing that you must be worried about the most is boring people.
If it's boring.
If it's boring, that's the one. When nobody feels anything. When
Yeah.
you feel nothing about something, that's when you know it's bad.
Wow.
But I have a question because I'm currently doing my master's in drama and film studies, and my supervisor always tells us that like if you are bored of your concept, if you are bored of what it is that you're writing, I have to read like 10 of these theses.
Oh,
so
yeah.
if you get bored and you don't excite me, can you imagine how I feel, you know? And so I always felt like, yeah, but I can get bored in my process of creativity. As in like sometimes it does get boring. The process of it can get boring. But do you think that it's the same for directing as well? Or do you think that like in this moment, if we are bored in this scene, you know, the storyline can't make it better?
Look, I mean, there's a validity to that because the creative process is not always exciting.
Yeah.
And that is the
Yes.
truth.
Yeah.
You know, it can be tedious.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've sat down in my life and I've seen old women knit jerseys.
Right.
And I'm like, damn, man. And she's just doing the
does
same
look
thing over
boring.
and like, when is she going to finish? And it starts off like this. I
Right.
come back tomorrow and it's like this. And she's knitting a jersey and she's like this. She's not bored. She's committed. She was like, I know what this is going to look like by the time I'm done. So she's
Right.
excited by the end product already.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So she's putting in the work because of what she knows the end is going to be like. You know, and pretty much filmmaking is like that. It is painstakingly slow. It is tedious. You know, if you are on set you're just there to maybe do somebody's makeup, you're going to go, okay, can we just move on? You know, that kind of thing. But to the director who understands what every step that needs to be kind of like executed is going to lead to, there's excitement. And that's why to a certain extent I have this little thing of every time I'm putting something together, if I can show the crew a little bit of what we've put together, if I can show them like, okay, guys,
Okay.
you know that thing we we're doing 2 weeks ago? Look what it looks like now. Then they go, whoa, I'm like, okay, I've got you.
Right.
Now, same energy, the next setup or next scene, that sort of thing. Because I know sometimes it's hard for people to see what you see.
Yeah.
So it's always important to kind of bring them along. And I try not to be a boring director when I'm on set. I try to keep the energy going a lot.
Yeah.
I'm always like, if the camera department is setting up a shot and they're lighting, unless I have got homework to do in terms of the script, then I'll get up and I'll even be in the way. I'll be disturbing you from doing your job.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, no, you know, we'll talk about movies, talk about music, talk about anything that just keeps us, you know, excited. And that's how I am. You know, whether it's the makeup, wardrobe, you know, catering people, I keep the energy up.
So I was going to ask that as a director, you have to handle and manage sort of with crew and with the talent. How is that process like? When it's like, maybe is it different to how you handle crew and how you handle talent?
No, I treat everybody as like a human being. Everybody's there
course.
to do a job, right? So I know that as talent, you know, you need to be kind of you need to kind of be like a blank canvas.
Yes.
When you're talent.
Yes.
So when you come in, it could go anyway. You've done your homework, you've done your prep, but by the time we talk about the scene, you know,
Moldable.
it's possible that the prep you've done is not wrong.
was
I'm
gonna
sorry,
ask
it's wrong.
I was going to ask that
Yeah.
as well. Because now...
It's wrong.
it's wrong.
It's not
You as a
relevant.
director-
It's wrong. So but I don't also think that my prep is right. You know,
Okay.
I come with a position, how I see it, and the director comes to the position too, and then we kind of go, oh, we're on the same page. Good, let's
Right.
do it. Or no, we're not on the same page. You know,
Yeah.
like there was a scene, an actor wanted to cry. He wanted to just bawl his eyes out. I said no. Yeah, he had prepped for this. He had prepped.
Did you see that maybe in the text of the script?
I don't
or-
know,
You
but
don't-
he had prepped to weep.
Right.
You know, and I said, I think if you, I can understand why you want to weep, but, and yes, the weeping will show that you're a good actor, but it doesn't work for the character. There's so much about you
Right.
that we've put together, you know. Now, the crying thing, no.
It's not going to work.
So then he said, no, why don't we try? Then I'm like, okay, I can see that he's done the work and I can't just
Discarded.
yes, I can't just discard him and shut him and say, okay, let's do the first take. And then and he cried for the first take, he wept. And even my supervisor, the script supervisor was like, why is he doing that? Let him cry. he would cry. And then he poured his heart out. He cried. I'm like, good, okay, makeup, dry him up, everything. Let's do another take now where you don't cry like that. You can the tears can come, but don't weep like a child. Let's try that. I'm like, okay, you see, we've got that option then. Okay, let's try another option where it's like you're numb, you know?
It's about sustaining the emotion, maybe.
Well, look, like I said, we try.
Right.
It's very difficult to go on to set knowing exactly what it is you're going to get.
Trial and error,
You have an idea of what it is based on the script. But like I said, the exploration for me is always the fun part.
Right.
Like directors that, I'm not the kind of director that is very prescriptive to say, oh, this is how it has to be. Because I know that you could have a better idea.
Yes.
And most of the times, my actors always have better ideas than me. Yeah,
Wow.
no, but it's true because they only have the character to think about. So
Exactly, that's
so
what-
they've
yes,
spent weeks
yeah.
only on one thing. So they know
Okay.
that character in, out, upside down.
Yeah.
I have to know 50 characters and know about 50 other things.
Sets as well.
Yeah. So I'm not giving anything the amount of attention they're giving just that one thing. So they have the better ideas, whether you like it or not. They're gonna come with the better ideas. So
a
your job is
director.
just to calibrate, to say, okay, too much, too little.
Too little. Okay.
You know, that kind of thing. Or the same thing with even lighting. So, okay, no, too much, too little. Because they know it better than you.
Right.
You know? Same thing with sound or music and editing. Your job is to say too much, too little. Just calibrate it.
Okay.
So that everything feels like a proper plate of food whereby everything is in the right proportions and not too, like, you know, you go to a restaurant and they give you food or salad and you go, oh my God, the salad is, this tomato is perfect. The tomato is sweet. Nobody says the tomato is sweet. You know, the whole meal has to be, you know,
All
consumed.
complements each
Yeah,
other.
exactly.
That makes a
Yeah,
lot
so
of
when something
sense.
sticks out, you know it's bad.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But as from an actor's point of view, right?
Yeah.
I want to ask this, and I think it's one thing that a lot of people ask.
A lot of
right?
actors, a lot of actors, yeah.
Yes,
a lot of actors,
Sure.
yeah.
But also just like people outside, like if you know how to cry,
Oh, no.
you're a good
Oh,
actor,
no.
right? And I think my lecturer made it a point to actually be like, we are actually going to suppress emotion.
Yes.
So in whatever scene where you do feel like crying, I want you to resist against the weeping and actually suppress emotion. And let us rather see the glare of the tears in your eyes that really want to come out.
Makes it real, yeah.
What's your opinion
No,
on that?
look, number one, you know, there's more than 100 ways to skin
A cat.
these cats. Yeah. You know, so there is no prescriptive way. I always say that when it comes to art and creativity, there is no formula. There's just a form. So we stick to the forms. And in some shape or form, I agree. There are instances where I've said, you know what would be great for a character is to see you not
Exactly.
or to see you try not to cry. And then in some instances, it's been like, no, in this case, I think just let it go. You know, so it's not been one rule for all. It literally has to be contextual. It has to be within what is the scene, who's the character, where are we coming from, what's happening now, where are we going, what's going to happen in the next 7 scenes or 10 scenes. All of that you consider. You know, because you can't make a choice in isolation. That's just the reality of creativity. No choice is made in isolation. So and I always say, I'm going to get into trouble for this.
Go.
So there was a time when we were doing Isibaya, right?
Yeah.
We did Isibaya and it ran for 8 years. But and we were winning. I mean, Isibaya was winning a lot of the SAFTAs for the first, second, and third year and all of that.
Yeah.
And then of course other shows started, you know, shows came up, many other shows, you know, they were like, oh, more soapies across the platform. And it was fun to watch. And then I noticed one thing, that we stopped winning the SAFTAs for actors.
Oh.
And I'm like, what's going on? You know, we'll put in, you know, the SAFTAs for the actors. I'm like, why are we not winning the SAFTAs for the actors anymore? I think this was about around year 5. I'm like, something's off. And I will always, you know, we selected the scenes for for the actors. So, okay, if we're submitting this character or this actor for best actor, best actress, or best supporting, we'll choose the scenes.
Oh.
And then I went back to the SAFTAs, and then I was watching, you know, previous SAFTAs, and I noticed that every time they mentioned best actor, the nominees came up. The reels that play were of them crying all the time. So I'm like, okay. So when you see, you know, and they were good. You're like, oh, okay. So this actress from The River is crying. Oh, that actor from Scandal is crying. Oh, that actor from Generations is also crying. Okay. And then I looked at our selections. We didn't pick the cry scene. Then I'm like, so clearly it's not. And the SAFTA for best acting goes to is the SAFTA for best crying.
Best crying. The best crying.
So and I'm like, yeah, but the crying doesn't reflect the person's ability to perform.
Yes.
You know, but somehow the actors who were winning the SAFTAs were winning the best
Were
of
the
best
ones that were
crying.
crying.
Best crying.
And then I realized that I'm doing my show a big disservice. I'm going to start submitting the scenes where you cry. That's the one that goes into the nomination.
there you go.
Yo.
But like, when you're doing these productions, right, do you do it, you say you do it for just out of your own best interests, as in do you want to have the best work you can put out for yourself? Do you also maybe just do it for the awards? What do you say to other directors who do it for an award?
No, look, I mean, awards are good.
Yes.
And yes, they validate your work.
Yes.
Too.
And, you know, it's good to have a doorstop.
A doorstop, yeah.
You can use to, you know, hold your door from closing, you know, but...
Paperweight, yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know, when you're creating something, you want, like I said, you want to share and express emotion. You want people to kind of like be drawn to something substantial that will make them think and have a conversation about an issue. And when you do that, sincerity and authenticity actually matters.
Yes.
You know, in how you do that, because it will show on screen. If you're being gimmicky and this is about the awards, right? It's not. Ask anybody who has ever had that. Anytime anybody has thought, I'm going to get an award for this, it never happens. True. It never happens.
Uncut gems.
Because you've put the goal of the award before the truth.
Storytelling.
Right. Yeah, exactly, before the storytelling. And what you the short answer to your question is, it should be about telling the best story authentically, as much as you can, with all sincerity, you know, without being gimmicky. Be true to what you're doing because it's substantial, because it's meaningful, right? Because you understand why the story has to be told, and you understand the impact it has on you and maybe other people. You know, that kind of thing, because that's how you know a real storyteller. It's about the connection you can make with 1,001 people, as opposed to somebody who can make a connection with even 2.
Right.
That is the difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you do that, then chances are somebody's going to acknowledge you with an award. That's just the truth. But if you say, oh no, we're going to get awards first, I've had people do that. Oh my God, this is going to be SAFTA award. And I'm like, you've already kind of lost the point of why you're telling the story. Because storytelling, I always say it's spiritual. You know, there are things that we can't see that kind of almost influence it, whether we like it or not. And those things they need to be aligned for that project to succeed. You know, and if that doesn't happen, right, you'll wonder why you've made the best series or the best film with the best cinematography with the best actors, and yet nobody feels a thing when they watch it.
Sure. I want to tag back on when you were talking about the nominations and the SAFTAs. Would you be submitting intense scenes? Well, I mean, the nature of Isibaya was also of such, but would they be would the nominations be of intense scenes, or do you also think that, you know, funny scenes and light-hearted scenes, you can also pick up the characters?
We do that. I mean, there were characters that excelled at making people laugh.
Yes.
And we submitted those ones, you know, for those roles. But you see, it was not really about, we didn't submit based on how shall I say, we submitted based on what moved us. You know, because that's what moves the audience. You know what I mean? If there was a scene from an actor or a series of scenes that were just incredibly compelling, and the way the actor tackled those scenes, you know, they gave it something that we had never seen before, or we felt, oh my God, this is just impossible to resist. That motivated what got sent to the NFVF as the entry for that particular actor, you know, and if it was a tragic arc, then you know, if it was a comedic arc, then you know, if it was just one of those you know, thriller-filled arcs, you know, there you go. I mean, when Siyabonga Twala won the SAFTAs for the first season of Isibaya. He was mostly covered in white and moving about like a monkey. You know what I mean. It was the whole Ngijimi thing and the Mkovu thing. That is what. So you know what I mean. It's not like some people will go, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
But he won the SAFTA for that.
Yeah.
For his portrayal of Mpiake Zungu in season 1 of Isibaya.
What do you think is your best or your favorite genre to direct? Or maybe even your favorite type of screen? Maybe it's either film, maybe even series, shows.
So weirdly enough, I'm in trouble again. Weirdly enough, I love action.
Action.
Like action. I
Action?
love action
Yeah,
movies.
action.
People have no idea what kind of an action film geek I am. I am like crazy about action. Like once there are guns and people fighting, I'm there. I'm that kind of person.
Okay, who's your favorite action star?
Ooh,
Come on then.
Ooh,
Don't be in trouble.
right now I'm.
Don't be in trouble.
Right now I'm rooting for Tom Cruise. Let's just put it that way.
Still.
Well, yeah.
Mission Impossible. I guess.
Yeah, he's the one
yeah.
who's keeping it real right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody else. I don't want to say The Rock. But anyway. So,
The Rock?
The Rock.
I mean, I would be very surprised
Now
if
Adze's in
would
trouble.
say.
Now Adze's in trouble.
Adze's really in trouble. Now we're all in trouble.
So I come from that. And weirdly enough, right, I did that so well, especially with all the things that we were doing at BOM, like the action sequences. I was always called in to direct any kind of major action. Even in Shaka, that's what I do.
Yeah.
In Shaka,
Yeah.
all the battle scenes, I do the battle scenes, and then I have to still go and do my episodes. So I spend time with the stunt team, rehearsing. We do all the stuff, they are okay, and then okay, good. And then when it's time to shoot the battles, I'm the one directing. The director just stands next to me and watches and goes, okay, that's good. Yeah. And then so that's pretty much my thing.
Actually.
But weirdly enough, I gravitate towards the simple moments between maybe a mother and a son.
Okay.
The father and his son. A lover and her man, or a lover and his. You know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Those moments of truth where you are forced to be vulnerable, where you have to confront something that is so hard for you to confront, but you have no choice. You can't, your humanity is brought into question.
Yeah.
That challenges your soul and your existence. Those kind of scenes, and I call them family. I call them family because for me, that's the only experience I really have. Trust me, I have never been in a car chase before. Nobody has ever chased me with guns.
Right.
I've never been in a sword fight before. I've never grabbed AK-47s to shoot at bad guys. That's stuff that we kind of like have adopted. But I know I've had difficult conversations with my mother, with my father, with my brothers, with my sisters. I've been in those situations whereby with a lover or a partner, we've had to strip ourselves naked and talk about how the hell, why, that sort of thing. And that's family. And those things are the things that, when the story has that, it actually draws me in first, even before the action. So even the kind of action movies I like, if those kind of things are not there, the family things, if they are not foregrounded as the reason why the action exists, right, then it's not the action film that I would love.
Right.
If you know what I mean. So an action film needs to have the heart. And there's so many action films that you watch and like I don't know whether you've seen Die Hard. Very old.
Hard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what is at the core of Die Hard is this man who's trying to be relevant to his wife.
Yeah.
She thinks he's a deadbeat cop. He's useless. He can't do anything for her, because his job is more important.
Constantly,
But then that thing that makes him so unbearable is the thing that saves her. That's Die Hard. I'm like, that is how you tell a story.
Shout out Bruce Willis, man.
Yeah, you see. Shame.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Sure. So you studied in Nigeria, film school in Nigeria, but what made you want to come to the South African industry? Because, Nollywood, excuse me, is kind of booming.
Yes. So at that time, I think I finished film school in Nigeria in 2001. That's what I meant by, the long ago comment about, being born. And at that time, it was coming up, but it was wild and rough and guerrilla. And like I was saying, just before we were recording, bored housewives were producers. And they would watch something. So this is kind of like how it all started. There was an SABC in Nigeria. It's called the NTA, right? Nigerian Television Authority. And what happened was that they basically fired almost everybody at some point.
Wow.
Right? Because they were trying to manage the staff complement.
Right.
Because it was government owned. So most of these guys went around, they left, and then they were cameramen, editors. And luckily for Nigeria is the largest, has the largest population of any African country on the continent.
Yeah.
1 out of every four Africans is Nigerian. So what they did was that they started making these movies. They called them home videos. We didn't even call them Nollywood then, we call them home videos. So they'll take the camera and then record anything, a conversation, people talking or whatever, and then they cut that together and then they put it on VHS tapes, and eventually later on DVDs, and then they sold. And these things began moving like no man's business because TV was boring. Government TV was boring. When I say boring, all you watch was people talking about policy, and it was badly done. The government never did anything wrong. There would be riots. People would be, like houses being burnt, and when you watch TV, you won't see it. But then CNN is carrying it.
Oh, it's like propaganda.
So it was that kind of propaganda TV.
Yeah.
So entertainment could only come from the DVDs and the TV and the VHS tapes that Nollywood filmmakers were selling. And it wasn't regulated. There was bad sound, there was bad photography, bad lighting, everything. But the story is kind of like hell, because people watch because of the stories, and that was a cool thing. And so while we were in film school, I remember coming across, we used the 1987 Heritage Shaka Zulu for a course in Nigeria. And I'm like, that's from South Africa. I'm going there.
Right.
Wow.
That's the first thing I said. If this is what South Africans can do, with this, the Shaka Zulu was epic. I mean, I watched it, I think, 8 times.
Wow.
I can't count how many times we watched it. It was so mind-blowing. I'm like, no, I'm going to South Africa to learn how to do this.
Right.
And so after I graduated, got my first degree, I came across an advert for AFDA. So I wanted to come and do a master's there. So that's actually what brought me to ISA to come to AFDA. So I came to AFDA. I did the honors there, at AFDA, and hoping that, I'll learn how to do the Shaka Zulu thing. Yeah. And can you believe it? How many years later?
How many years later now you're actually doing the Shaka Zulu thing?
The reason why I came.
You're right. That's poetic.
Bum, bum,
Poetic.
bum, bum,
What
bum, bum, bum.
What advice would you give out to a young, maybe director, filmmaker starting out? Do you think they should actually take the course of institution learning, or do you believe they should just go out there putting out as much films as they can possible?
Yeah.
Or a balance.
Yeah, maybe a balance as well.
A balance is always good. It's always good to know what you're doing, and even if you don't know what you're doing, it doesn't matter. You learn on the job.
Right. Exactly. Experience.
Like people think you are a great director from the beginning. No, you're not. You learn by doing, and that's why you must be careful about early successes, because the only thing that a wise man once said that starts at the top is a grave.
Right.
Yeah. So you've got to be careful about the quick and early success. You've got to learn the ropes, and you can only do that by doing. And when I began working in the film and TV industry, right, the telenovelas, the soapies, literally gave us a platform to learn, because it was long running, and if you make a mistake, you can correct it.
Yeah.
And you can see how audiences react to things, and then you kind of know what storylines were working and that kind of. So we learned a lot, but during those days, there was no democratization of the industry in the sense that there was the internet and the tools we have now, like the phone.
Yeah.
Now you edit on your phone. My God, you should have seen when we edited our very first film. You know what I mean? Like the cameras we used in the beginning. Oh no, man! Yeah, you had to shoot and then have to go and take it for it to be developed, and then printed and then graded, then transferred to VHS, and before you could even see it.
That process I would never know.
The film lab here in Blairgowrie was famous for all of that. That's where we went to actually see what we shot after we shot it.
You have to be grateful.
So now you've got phones that shoot 4K.
Yes.
Now you've got CapCut that you can edit on.
Yes.
And the question I ask young filmmakers are, why are you not making films?
Right.
Like, I don't know what you are looking for again. This is what we were praying for. Because for us when we were making films, we cried to be able to get equipment. The last film I did, even, I mean, I needed to use proper equipment, but I didn't use high-end equipment.
Right.
And even what I did was I kind of did I won't call it, well, it's not really, it was kind of legal, but yeah, in a way it was questionable.
Questionable.
That's it's going to get us in trouble.
We hired equipment on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
We shot only on Saturday. So I'm sorry, only on weekends.
Right.
So we shot only on weekends for the film. And what I did was we hired equipment on Friday, used it on Friday and Saturday. So we paid for those days.
Mm.
And of course, Sunday, all the gear houses are closed.
Right.
So the equipment that is hired out to be used on Saturday can only come back on Monday.
Yeah.
And they know that.
Mm-hmm.
So what did we do? We shot Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Mm.
So we had one extra day of gear for free that we could use.
Right.
And then Sunday morning it went back.
Mm.
And then the next weekend, the same thing.
Mm.
So like that's kind of thinking you have to kind of like apply in order to shoot what you feel like you need to shoot.
Mm.
So you've got the cell phones, you've got the editing platforms on your phone, and it shocks me till today that we're not seeing more films or stories being made by young people, even short films.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that
short
you go
films,
online, that you can post, that shows us what you can do. When I finished film school and I was trying to look for work, the first thing I did was that I took all my student films and I put them on a VHS tape, and then I mailed them to production houses to say, oh, look at my showreel. And eventually I got calls. The first person that called was, I think, Gavin Hood, if I'm not sure, but then he was like, what kind of filmmaker do you want to be? I don't even think he remembers. I don't even think he remembers. Because then he was like, oh no, maybe. I said, well, I'm not too sure too. Then he gave me some advice. I can't even remember what he said, but then he made me think about what I really wanted to do. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then later on, then the next response I got, because I literally put them in envelopes, and then I went to the post office. All the money I had in the world went into that. There was no cash left. I knew eating was going to be a problem for God knows how many months.
Yeah.
But those things needed to go to all those production companies. I found their addresses basically online, and they went. And then Roberta Duran from Penguin Films called. She said, okay, we're about to start a show. We don't have a position for you, but you can intern, as an assistant director.
Right.
And I was thinking, oh, that means I'm going to be close to the director. Assistant directing doesn't have anything to do with that.
Really?
I mean, it's more of the directors. You're just helping the director with logic and control. But of course, if the director is nice, he will get ideas from you. So I came in as a second assistant director trainee on SABC One's Home Affairs. That's how I started.
Wow.
That was my very first gig. Yeah. Then the second season, I was now called again to now be a full-time second assistant director. And then third season, they wanted me to direct.
What?
Yeah. But I wasn't available.
Oh my.
I was busy with another show by that time. They were like, come, we want you to direct now. The third season. I'm like, I wish I was available, but I'm doing another show.
So which show were you
Jacob's
doing
Cross.
at the time? Oh.
Yeah, I was working on Jacob's Cross.
Jacob's Cross.
So I couldn't do that. But yeah. So and weirdly enough, I was thinking that the first thing they will ask me was my certificate, right?
Right.
From AFDA. Nobody has ever asked for it.
That's what I was going to say, because with filmmakers, I mean, that's why I asked about the institution route as well.
Yeah.
It should be about experience or institution.
Yeah. It's what you show. If you're in film school, whatever you are that you're learning, use that time to polish what you are creating, because that is going to be your calling card. Nobody wants to see where you learned. They want to see what you have done before.
Right.
So have something to show. And when you go into the film industry, I always say, it's not about what you can get. Show the industry what you can give. And they will definitely make a room for you. They will definitely want you. So find your truth. Because people have asked me this question about my style. And I'm like, I don't really have a style, but there's some stories that I get drawn to based on my upbringing. So the kind of upbringing I had, always leads me towards a particular kind of story. And those stories become my style. So what is your story? How has your upbringing affected the kind of person you are, and what kind of stories do you gravitate towards and why? And if you can tell stories that kind of like reflect those sort of things every now and then, chances are, right, somebody will go, okay, we need that, we're missing that. And then then they'll make a room for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yo, yeah. I have a friend who he actually does exactly what you're like encouraging for young filmmakers to do, to make films.
Yeah.
And he literally was just like recently sponsored by ABSA to make a
There
film.
you go.
And now, he's shown it
Yeah.
in various places.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you make yourself available and open just as much as Gavin Hood had also, like contacted you or reached out to you? Do you also make yourself available for interns or for anyone who wants to shadow you or anyone, to take under your wing?
Look, that phone call conversation with Gavin Hood didn't last even 2 minutes. and if not because he won the Oscar, I wouldn't have even cared who the guy was.
Yeah.
No, but he was kind enough to call back. Actually, I called.
Oh, you called?
I think I called. Was it he called? No, he called.
Okay.
And I remember having to go, guys, we've come from far. I had to go to a payphone. I had to go to a payphone to make that call. Like, go and then like, okay, then you pay for like 2 minutes. And then I paid.
I don't
and I took the,
You don't remember? You remember those?
I know those blue ones, those blue
Vodacom.
ones.
Yeah.
Was it Telcom?
There was
Vodacom,
people had all
Telcom.
kinds of, phone
There was even
things.
like a phone
book.
card.
Yes.
I remember a phone
That
card.
was how I made that call.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to answer your question, it's hard. The response, the requests I get are a lot.
I can imagine.
They're a lot, and I'm a very open person, so I take on more than I should. But what I've done, and I've done this for the past, I think 4 or 5 years, I have a mentorship group.
Oh.
That I on WhatsApp. That what I do is, and for those who know, there are many who are part of it.
Right. So
they're actors. It was meant only for directors. It began as only for directors. Now there are more actors in that group than there are directors. So yeah, and a few writers and editors. I mean, the group has like close to 150 people on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you won't believe there's everybody in that group, from some of them famous faces you see on TV. That are on TV and people who you don't know are on that group. And what I do is I use that group to kind of do a kind of studio mentor. So sometimes we meet. So throughout last year and this year, we didn't meet, right? But before last year and this year, we met regularly on Sundays. And it was about, okay, we do this, we do that. Just workshops.
Right.
Workshops. And then sometimes I invite guest people to come and speak. It's been dormant for 2 years. I need to revive it back again because the requests are always getting higher. But I always say, the group is active, like if there's work opportunities, the group also shares within themselves about what they can do. Some of them are out there shooting their own things. And when the good ones that come up, I repost about, this is good. A few people have actually come out of that particular workshop, right? And I began long time ago. There's some names, if I drop now, you won't believe who are attending my workshops. But they came there, they attended, and they're like, this is good. And then they went on and built their own careers. And it was free. There was nobody was charging anything.
So you believe in community building, right, in the arts?
When you put it that way, it sounds very formal and official. I just do. We just do.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no formality attached to it. And the people that have been part of it till now are people who just, their passion keeps them coming. There's nothing that I do that makes them keep them coming. They want to keep learning, fine. And they have questions about their career paths or things, and then I answer in the group, and then, So that way I can do the mentoring remotely.
Yeah.
Because on set, it's very hard to have that many people hanging, you know how this dynamic is. Yeah, so it's really hard to accommodate people on set for the mentorship.
Yeah. So, because you came to South Africa because of Shaka.
Yeah, I did.
Now that you are part of that project, what have you pulled from, or what from your upbringing and your lived experience have you pulled into the storytelling of Shaka? That, I mean, of course it's different now because the Shaka that you had seen is completely different from what we're seeing on our screens today. You know what I mean? So what from your upbringing and your childhood did you pull from to also contribute to the Shaka that we see today, especially because of its authenticity, I would say?
So, guys, this is so weird. very, very crazy. You know, when the first thing that we began doing with Shaka, I mean, Angus and Desiree, the executive producers, their research in Shaka, you will not believe in terms of the background work that went into preparing for Shaka. It is the most, it's impossible to encapsulate the amount of work that went into the research, meetings, you know, consultations, travels. Like, now I know why it's hard to do these period pieces often, because the amount of groundwork that needs to be done is incredible. And you have to have a do or die, you know, approach if you're going to do it. And Angus and Desiree, you know, they do have a do or die approach. And they went all in. They pushed, they had meetings with King Zwelithini before he passed. You know, there was colloquiums. There was it was literally like, we're doing this and we need all the information that we can get, and then so that we can make the choice about what kind of story we want to tell. You know, because the first Shaka was told from the European point of view, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So this is going to be from the point of view of the characters of the characters themselves. So, and in that research, while that research was happening, you know, we're looking at Nguni culture, looking at, you know, what it was like in that time. And I discovered, this is now answering your question, I was discovering similarities a lot with what it was like with Zulus in those days. And my experience growing up in Nigeria, my village, when I think about my village, I'm like, you know, I find it very, very, I'm like, wait a minute, this is not too different from what I was going through or how I was raised, like the food that we ate.
Right.
You know, the way we dressed, you know, my people, when they dress traditionally for dances and celebrations, they dress like the Zulus did in 1870. You know, I was like, so I was seeing a lot of parallels with culture, you know, how you deal with marriage, how you deal with family. I'm like this, and sometimes I'll make a comment about something, and then somebody will agree. I'll say, yes, that's actually how it's done. I'm like, I didn't read that. I grew up with that.
Yeah.
You know, I literally grew up with that little thing. That thing that people are looking at as a like, oh, this is a nice artifact. I said, no, this is what we used it for. And not was. We still use it in my village.
Right.
If you go to my village now, where my grandmother's house is, you'll still find those sort of things in her kitchen. You know, and I'm like, yeah, this is what we eat. This is how we dried the corn. We wrapped it around on the roof. You know, and then we'll use the smoke from the pots, from the earth, right? We'll dry the corn and it preserves it. That's how the Zulus did it. That's how we still do it.
Yeah.
So I found it very weird that this is too close to home. I didn't know it was going to be like that. So in a way, I found myself walking in a space that was not unfamiliar.
Yeah.
And I just brought that in. You know, look, it's not like I did a lot. I mean, I only had, I think the first season, I did about 2 or 3 episodes. So I'm sure every director that had to deal with their own episodes, you know, brought whatever experience they did, you know. But yeah, so I don't know if that comes close to answering your question.
It does.
But that was my experience, weirdly enough.
So, Adze, what's next for you?
Season 3 of Shaka iLembe.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a confirmation?
Yeah, we're already in pre-prod. We're already in pre-production for season 3. It's ready. We're into it already. We've started preparation, looking at potential actors and location scouting and stuff like that. The team is already assembled, so season 3.
I'm sure people will be excited to hear that.
I actually did see a casting call, but I didn't think it was for Shaka. It just said casting call for Zulu-speaking people. I was like, no, it's not for Shaka. It was it's circulating for Bomb specifically, but I didn't think it was.
No, it's real.
Yeah.
It's real.
Okay.
So season 3 of Shaka is next. Yeah. The last season.
The last season.
Well, for now, for all we know, we might see another one. But it was always going to be a 3-season story.
I saw it coming. I saw something in the thing.
Yeah.
What is it? A title sequence that I was like,
I see what you mean.
I think this is
the finale.
Yes. Great. So from all of us here at Seen and Heard, that's a wrap. If you haven't liked, commented, subscribed, please do that to keep in the loop. And from our hearts to yours is all love.